We have the latest inflation data. Things are not quite as rosy as they appear, but don't tell the markets that. We're going to dive into that, the latest from the Hinman emails, discuss tomorrow's FOMC, give our official predictions. Before we do that, hit the like button down below, subscribe to our channel if you have not yet. Nothing that Kevin or I say is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We're a few guys who love following the markets, but please do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kevin, we discussed yesterday. Inflation expectation was on the CPI 4%. That's what it came in at, 4%. For core, expectation was 5.3, came in at 5.3. So, people see that number, they see that 4, like, whoa, that's down so much. This is so great. Disagree. Like, let's talk for a second here as we begin today. 5.3. Let's talk about that for a second. 5.3. That's not a good number. It's down from 5.5. We'll have to see if there's a revision. But once again, the market is looking for things to be bullish about as opposed to there actually being things to be bullish about.
Exactly. Yeah, it's absolutely ludicrous, I think, for this number. Again, it's the headline always looks great, right? That's what everyone gets excited about. But whenever there's a revision, no one says anything. It's like, oh, that was last month. We're not going to worry about that shit anymore. But
we're forward looking.
Exactly. We're the person in everything into this fucking market. Even on Bloomberg this morning, they're like, yeah, the market actually priced this in. It's like, yeah, no shit. They've been pricing everything in since January, and it's been going their way. I think the thing that pisses me off more than anything, I'm going to sound off here for a second, is that they did the CPI revision, how they calculated it a while back. And ever since they did, everything's just like great for inflation, right? Just like it's like what a fucking coincidence. All we had to do was change the formula. Inflation's coming down. It's like, damn, too bad my high school math teacher didn't know. He could have made a lot of money just telling the Fed, yo, just carry the 2 and everything's fucking fine. But it's an absolute joke that this shit's coming back. We're seeing revisions. We're still waiting for the revision from last month, right? Where you should be I thought we were going to get it today or we're getting it sometime soon. But it's an absolute joke. Someone's cutting grass outside. This is a bullshit market. But yeah, it's an absolute joke just to think how everything is just perfect. Like right on the dot, fucking 4%. Great. But yeah, look deeper into the numbers and it's pretty shitty. The only thing that came down a lot was eggs.
Thank God. I mean, I eat a lot of eggs, so thank Christ for that. But we talk about, everything right now. If the Fed is actually data dependent, which at this point, I don't know what to think because they say one thing and sometimes the numbers, it plays out completely different. But if the Fed is in fact data dependent, as well as if they've thrown the jobs market kind of out the window when it comes to their decisions, this is not bullish. Like for inflation, we look at their preferred measure, PCE, we look at CPI and core CPI. So those three numbers, the core and the PCE are the ones they look at the most. And those are still very, very high. The PCE went up last time to 4.9. So that's not great. And for the core CPI to still be at 5.3 is so far away from their 2. And let's say that they're going to throw out the 2% target eventually. Say that they maybe err toward 2.5 or 3. That's still a long ways to go. And to think that, this year has been 25 basis point hikes. Like we've seen, we should be seeing the impact of the 75s and the 50s from last year. And yeah, we saw it on the headline number, but we're not seeing it on these other numbers. And that's really damn important. So, the market is basically priced in the fact there's going to be no rate hike tomorrow. The latest probability is 94% chance of no hike, 6% chance of 25. If you look ahead to July, it's at 60% chance of a 25 basis point hike, 36% chance of no hike, and then a 3.6% chance that we're 25 this month and next month. So it's just, I don't even know, man. I think we're going to get no hike tomorrow. I think Powell is going to be very hawkish because I think he needs to be, and he knows that. And the market needs to be cooled off a little bit. Because if you look today, I mean, it's come back down a little, but we still see NASDAQ up almost 100 points. It's approaching 15K. S&P up, 0.63% at 4366. The VIX is still under 15. You know, there's just all these tech stocks are just continuing to go crazy. Tesla with another insane day. I mean, if you the inverse Kramer index right now, if you just look, if when Kramer got max bearish on Tesla, on Meta, and on Nvidia, and you had just gone long at those points, you would be retired right now. Like, it was incredible how wrong he got those.
I will just say one thing: double dip recession. Last time we saw one of those was in the 1980s. Maybe we already saw the first recession. Maybe the actual COVID recession was the first recession, and then
We did. We like by the numbers, we did see it happen, and we're gonna see it again.
This is the thing that really pisses me off because I was actually doing some research on this, and it's like, all right, 2 quarters of negative GDP growth, right? We got that, but we didn't consider it a fucking recession. So maybe that was the recession. This is the small, brief rally that happens in between the recessions because it happened in the 1980s too. And then the next one is the big one, right? It's very possible. Uh, with everything that's going on right now, I think we are going to get 25, not 25 base points. I think they're not going to do shit tomorrow. But maybe in July if the numbers come back. But again, I don't know. This formula is fucking working out for them, whatever they're doing. But it makes no sense to me how people still have money to be, dropping into the market, but inflation is coming down. There's so much that's absolutely just like conflicting for me where I don't buy it. So again, I don't think that we're in a bull market. I think if we were talking about 20% from the bottom, sure, that's fine. Short-term recovery can still absolutely be decimated in 1 to 2 weeks. I don't care if it's 20% up. All you need is one bad thing. Look at COVID. COVID brought that shit down so much in such a short period of time. I'm not saying we're gonna have another level event like that, but there's definitely gonna be some sell-off at some point. But I'll even go into this. On Bloomberg for the longest, everyone was saying that Q3 and Q4 of this year, the second half of 2023, we're going to go into a light recession, or we're going to go into a recession, right? That was like the narrative from like January all the way to like April, and now
A light recession, diet recession,
exactly. Yeah, fucking Diet Coke, diet recession,
recession zero.
But everyone was talking about that, right? And now it's like, oh no, we're going to push our targets a little bit higher now. Yeah, are you entering short positions or what? Because that's what I'm really curious to know. I think that they kind of told you what was going to happen. Again, this market is very manipulative. I think a lot of people know what's going to happen, but then they speak out of the side of their mouth and do something else. And when it comes to their order books, I think we're just at a place where I think we're holding bullshit up with tiny hands, and it's a lot of shit that
tiny hands,
and it's just seeping through, and eventually the entire turd is just gonna end up on your white shoes, and and some on your face too, because
I don't know. I don't even know what to make of that, but okay, we'll go with it.
It sounds
any
right,
other?
Right?
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think we could call it good on the inflation
Double dip
talk there.
recession.
Double dip recession incoming, according to Kevin. You heard it here first. I haven't heard anyone else call for that, so I trust the man. We'll see what happens here. Other piece of news I found interesting that could definitely impact the markets is a China stimulus that's being discussed, where they want to try to put some more money out there. They want to tame inflation, short-term interest rates, help with the housing markets, help with the auto industry over there. That could definitely be a short-term positive for the financial markets, but we'll have to see if they come to that conclusion. The sources who were talking about this didn't want to be identified because it's private. I could also see this thing where it's like the China government knew they had a mole, so they fed the information to a handful of people to see who it was, and they like throw them off a building or something. That could be. That's the other thing I think that this news could be. But Bundy, good to see you.
Thanks for being
Happy
here.
Tuesday. Thanks for being here. Do you want to talk about the emails a little bit? Because I know that I haven't looked at them yet today. I know that you were looking into it as far as everything that's going on with the Hinman emails and Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation. So why don't you kind of get into that and give everyone the TLDR?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a lot of stuff that came out. People were seeing the price of XRP shoot up going into this because we knew that these emails were going to come out. But here's the thing: was it a nothing burger? Kind of. So it was a nothing burger for XRP. They didn't really list XRP or talk about it all in these emails. A lot of it was just pretty much, going back to a speech that Hinman had given and how the SEC at the time was kind of cautious about some of the language it was using in the speech. Like I believe in the speech directly, they mentioned Ethereum and they used it. And while they were, said like, well, there was some restraints and constrictions on what they're actually regarding to when it came to ETH. They just used an example. The SEC was kind of cautious about that and wanted him to revise the speech because eventually, that would be for them unable to walk back some of their comments on Ethereum if they made it public originally. So this was something that they really didn't want out there. And the SEC went to Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation, and they used them as an advisor when it came to digital securities, whether this asset class should be considered a commodity or a security. And they said that if something becomes decentralized enough, then it doesn't become a security. It becomes a commodity. So I only know one thing that's fully decentralized, and that's Bitcoin, right? You can argue that Ethereum's pretty decentralized. The more validators, more people that are staking, obviously it becomes a more decentralized network. But for the most part, it's pretty much Bitcoin's the only one that's decentralized. That being said, having Vitalik just pretty much be an advisor for the SEC for Hinman, and this during this time back in 2018, it's like, that's kind of a conflict of interest, no? So there's one thing going on, and it's not a conspiracy theory, but it's definitely something that people are really concerned about, is whether Vitalik Buterin kind of paid off the SEC so that they wouldn't go after Ethereum. That's kind of why Ethereum is, hands off, not being touched by the government. However, XRP, is something that, if we're looking at Ethereum versus XRP, Ethereum had a larger market cap at the time when the SEC case came out against XRP. So why would they go after XRP and not Ethereum? Why is Ethereum never brought up? So there's something a little fishy there. And then again, regarding the comments that Hinman made in the speech and how they wanted to retract those from his speech before he made it, that just tells me that there is some type of connection between the Ethereum Foundation, Vitalik, and the SEC. And that's kind of why they didn't want these emails coming out. And they got released because the case is just moratorium on it, and we're still expecting to get a resolution in the case by the end of September. Judge Torres, the new judge that's handling the case, is pretty open. Just wanted to kind of let everything come out before making a decision. So we'll see how this plays out. But again, XRP got a little bit of a sell-off today because everyone was buying into the pump, but it was a buy the rumor, sell the news event for that asset. But I think the spotlight is on Ethereum for what's happened. Not a lot of people are talking about it. There's a good amount of people that are calling it ETHgate. Interesting term that crypto Twitter is coming up with. I think it's very fitting, but for the most part, it does raise some alarms for Ethereum and some of the price action, like SEC Ethereum kind of like colluding. Again, how true is that? We'll find out, but it's definitely going to impact price, in my opinion. I think in the macro, and I definitely think that this could be something where it's like, okay, maybe Ethereum actually can drop 66% from where it currently is to that 600 level, which I've been talking about since, I don't know, last year. So it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out. But again, this was less of a thing about XRP and more about Ethereum, which was really interesting. And it just showed the SEC was kind of clueless when it came to identifying, digital assets, whether they're commodities or securities.
Okay. I'm looking at, price of XRP took a little dip this morning, and that's really shady. If there is something going on with Vitalik and the SEC, that'd be super shady and very bad for Ethereum. But not gonna get out in front of that one if there's not my place. But let's move on. Ace, good to see you. Randy, good to see you as well. Ace, if you have not yet, you should go back a little bit after we're done and listen to what we had to say earlier, because Kevin had some great lines. Let's get into some of the charts. There's not a whole lot else to discuss ahead of tomorrow's FOMC. There's anything that's jumping out to you right now? Yes.
There is one thing we should bring up. At 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, that was when Binance, the Binance US SEC hearing was. So we're going to find out whether the SEC is able to freeze some of those assets. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on the BNB price. We'll look in a little bit, but that definitely could have an impact on price action going forward, because I think Binance US also said, or Binance CZ came out and said that if they do freeze those assets, that would absolutely destroy Binance US, that branch of their company. So that'll be really interesting to see how that comes out. And again, it's wild how everything's just piling up today. We got Trump going to court. We got the Binance SEC case, ramping up. We got the Hinman information. We got CPI. Tomorrow we got PPI, and then we got FOMC. So this week, it's just like everything just happened to land on these 2 days, and the price is doing absolutely nothing. So we'll just look at the charts and see if there's any opportunity where the price is going to move up or down. But first thing I think we're going to look at is the DXY, because that took a bit of a dump once the inflation number came out today. So this morning, I believe we were trading pretty high. It was like 103.6. And as soon as the information, the report came out, the CPI print, we went from, we were at 103.626. We went all the way down to 103.039. And now we're currently at 103.36. So what does that tell you? That tells you, well, we found some support on the 50 moving average, which is a really good sign. We're completely oversold on the daily. And if I'm looking at this and I'm trying to be reasonable, I think that this is offering us really good support. And the dollar, even though Janet Yellen says is going to be, taking a bit of a hit as the world's reserve currency, I couldn't disagree with her more in terms of how it's going to impact the price of the dollar going into the next 12 months, though. I think the dollar's value against risk assets it's going to absolutely destroy risk assets. And something as big as this today is, showing me some confidence that the dollar is still strong. The fact that we bounced right off of this, despite, inflation coming down once again, that should be bullish, but clearly the dollar is still strong. People are definitely still in some cash positions, which is good to see. And, we could be done with this corrective wave right here. So we came up in one wave. Now this is a little bit of a retracement. What I'm looking at this could be potentially... This could be a 5-wave move to the upside. So we could get wave 1, wave 2 retracement, wave 3, which would be pretty big. That should bring us above, obviously, the 105, which is this. Where's 105? Maybe I deleted it. It was 105.69. That was the level that we were keeping an eye on. Breaks above that. Obviously, we're going to be in a pretty bullish structure moving forward. And I think that's, the dollar today, even though some risk assets are up, like the S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow, we're getting some altcoins that are up today. I think that the dollar is probably going to be leading this market into this summer. I don't care how overbought everything is. We're, undervalued on the dollar. If we look at the monthly, there we are in the monthly. And if we look at, I'm just going to pull up S&P or anything like that. Let's go to the S&P right here. We're getting pretty close to overbought on the monthly for that. So I think those two will be inverted not very soon. Obviously, it's the monthly, but they will be inverted fairly soon. And I think this is, again, today's response from the dollar after hitting that low. This is just going to be the summer of the dollar. I'm sticking with that. And I think we'll start to see some, some of these targets up here, 105.6569. I think that's going to be one of the next targets to be taken out, in my opinion.
Okay. Got Ace over here. You want to do BNB next? Because Ace has a short out on that. And he's saying it's on life support on the weekly. So I'd love to. It's up on the day. I did notice that, but whatever. Yeah. Where did you open your short on BNB? Because I know that was back in April that you opened that one?
Yeah, I opened it up at 347.
Oh, so like right near the top.
Yeah, I got literally. I was looking at it up here. Here, let's see. I think it was this wick right up here. It was like 340. It went to 350 or something like that. And then it dropped a few bucks, and I just put a good amount down, and I just shorted the fuck out of it. But
you still have that one open?
Yeah, I haven't taken profit on it. Again, I have targets for BNB, and this is the one thing that really struck me, because we were starting to close out of this right around here, and we broke out of this ascending triangle on the monthly. We broke out of it on the weekly. We can see what happens when you break out of a triangle like that. You go down, but also you're in a parallel channel. So this triangle was within a parallel channel for Binance. So we broke out of that too. Here's the thing with Binance. Obviously, I think that this coin is going to absolutely tank. And the main reason is these massive gaps right here. This was artificially pumped during the bull market. You could say that, we had tons of stimulus going in there. There's tons of cash flowing in. But at the same time, you also had Binance, using BUSD right? So they're buying up their own coin, and that's pretty much just like a cash reserve. Other people are buying into it, and BNB absolutely took off in the bull run, right? We shot up all the way to, where was the height of this? Almost $700 for this coin, after being around $40 for the longest time. So in a matter of 4 months, this thing went from $40 all the way up to 700.
Oh my God.
So when people are really excited about Binance and saying that he's a pretty good dude and everything like that, and CZ, it's like, just understand that even if someone is a good person, they could absolutely do some fucked up shit, especially when it comes to money. Money is definitely going to drive some people into doing some wild shit. But I definitely think that this was 100% artificially pushed up by BUSD, a little bit of stimulus, but for the most part, this chart I think is going to absolutely tank. I think my targets obviously are as is. I think we got to break $213. If we break that, we're going to test 150, because if we go on the weekly, we can see that there's a little bit of support at 150, right? Yeah, very little. We got resistance there, came down, and then it bounced right through. So you got very little resistance right here around 150. You have a ton around $40 where it originally pumped from. But let's be honest, if this thing's down to $45 and it can't hold, likely the exchange went under. That's all I'm gonna say. Again, if you're opening up shorts now, definitely just be cautious, because Binance is notorious for short squeezes. So if you are going to be opening up shorts, I recommend I can't recommend anything. I can only recommend myself things that I do. So what I usually do is low leverage, right? I tell myself this because I know where my liquidation levels are. Will it push to a certain level? And that was the main reason why I was getting into those shorts up there, because I used like 3x leverage, so it wasn't too bad if if it went one way or the other. But for the most part, obviously, is close to the top. So as it goes down, your gains, your profits are 3 times whatever the gap is between where you open and where the current price is. So, but the good thing about low leverage is that your liquidation price is not as, you don't have to be monitoring it too much, because obviously 3x, it can go, if it drops 33%, then you lose you're liquidated instantly. But if it goes up 33%, you made 100% of whatever you invested. So just be careful. And yeah, so Binance, I think that 213 is going to be a key level. Do we get some information, some price action that's going to come from today from the Binance.us? I think that it's definitely going to play a key factor in the price action. Maybe we lose this 213. Right now, we're sitting on the 200 EMA. We can see that right there, this yellow line right here. But again, that's a pretty big move right here. Let's see how much that move is from where this candle is down to 50. It's a 26% move. If we go up here, let's see, from, let's say, the top of this channel here down to where it is, or where it went, 36%. So yeah, we would have to see Binance Ace, if all things considered, hopefully not everyone has money in Binance or anything like that, where if it did fail, they wouldn't get hurt. But I'm doing terrible with this ruler right now. Let's go here.
You're getting a geometry lesson today on today's show also, everybody. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Got that going for you.
If we wanted to check the major support, it would be an 87% drop. That's where we would be from where the height was at, the top of this channel. From where it is currently, that would be, man, I really suck at geometry.
That's a bold claim by Ace.
80%. What did Ace say? You know what? I will be honest with you. What Binance did is very similar to what FTX did. I used to bitch about FTX always twapping and like pretty much liquidating their customers. Binance does something similar to that. They have all your orders. So, I mean, some people are shorting BNB on Binance. I'm like, what are you fucking doing? Do you know what I mean? It's like, they know where you are. They know where you live. They're going to just push the price up just enough. I mean, that's probably what we're seeing Bitcoin not, we saw a little bit of a Bitcoin dump on Friday, not much, for like $700, but they probably liquidated enough people with some of their short positions on alts to the point where, like, yeah, we can pump up BNB just a little bit just to liquidate some late shorts. It's very possible, but again, I think that we do see something really big soon with BNB. It's a very different case than XRP versus the SEC. It's very different from Coinbase versus the SEC. This is more of like they're going after them for fraud. So we'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. But for Binance, if we look on the daily, just one last thing, we can see that, we're probably going to retest this channel. Maybe we go to 250. I don't know. I would like to see if the news plays out today. If that brings us below 213 and we're unable to reclaim that, then we could absolutely see something similar like price action we saw on Friday where it just drops down. Could be an FTX, honestly. Again, under 150. If If you're down at 45 and it goes below 45, that most likely the exchange has absolutely went under. So we'll keep an eye on it. We know there's a lot of heat on Binance, but again, never underestimate the exchange. Big money always wins in the end. But just be careful, protect yourself, and just make sure if you are using leverage, it's always low leverage and you understand the risk that you're taking.
Okay. Anything else we want to look at before we wrap up today?
Yeah, but Bitcoin dominance again. There's tons of alts you can look at. Obviously, Matic and ADA took a pretty good move up since the Friday drop. But if we're looking at Bitcoin dominance, this is still going to be the answer for me. I'm looking at this right now on the daily. Obviously, we are pretty overbought on the daily. We're at what is that level? I believe this is where is it? We're at about 98 on the stochastic RSI, so relatively high. It's probably going to come down a little bit. Where could it come down to? I'm going to make a estimated guess right here. I'm going to say 48.9. Well, that's possible. I think that's going to be some support there. Here, I'll make this yellow for Binance, and then I'll make it. There we go. That's for you, CZ. But yeah, I think that we'll probably see some test of this, obviously, because that's the top of that. But I don't think that BTC dominance is just done quite yet. I think that if we were looking at Bitcoin, the fact that it still can't get above 2,600. I mean, all day yesterday, today, we shot up, briefly above 2,600, but it can't sustain it. Right now, we're 25,881, and you can see these wicks. These are not bullish wicks for me. Look at that. That's it shoots up, rejected, shoots up, rejected, shoots up, rejected, comes down, rejected, rejected, rejected. Price action doesn't know where it is, what it wants to do. The 50 EMA is coming down on the daily. The 200 is coming up. We're going to find support here, but we're going to find resistance here. Something's going to happen. It's going to be absolutely disgusting when it finally does. But 25,280, I'm telling you, this blue line right here is going to be your main support. If you break below that, you're going down to 22, 23K. Just look at all this gap that we have to fill. We have to fill that gap, and we're almost done finishing. I mean, we got to fill this gap, which is around 24,995. So, I mean, if we just want to take out two gaps at one time, so be it. And then I think that would be offer probably a pretty good recovery from that. We'd be at 22, 21K, 22K right here. It's 22K. It's like 21.95 or something like that. But 22K, we could, get our nut shoulder around 25, 26K, push it up. I mean, it's what, $4,000 swing. It's not terrible. I mean, it's very possible for Bitcoin to do it. I think we kind of underestimate how Bitcoin plays out too. Like Bitcoin could easily drop $3,000 in one day. Like that's very possible. It dropped. Let's look at SIVB, right? That was right here. Back in March, it was in one day, it was at 21, shot, or over the course of 2 days, it was at 22, shot all the way down to 19.6. Once again, 19.6, huge level, but we'll get back to that once we get closer to that level. That's $3,000 in 2 days. Where we are currently, 25,873. Say we drop $3,000 just like that in 2 days. That's 22,873. We're in that 22, 23 level. We could see the bounce from there, but we would definitely be below the 200 if that happens on the daily and the weekly. If we look at that real quick, it's kind of lining up pretty nicely. Actually, no, it's the monthly. If we look at the monthly, yeah, it's lining up that the 50 EMA on the monthly is right around 23K. So there are some things that line up that would clear this one for sure. It looks like this candle would 100% be, this gap would be filled. Maybe we get a bounce before we fill this one. This next one would take us all the way down to around 16. But we'll keep an eye on that when that happens. But there's definitely gaps to be filled. And we know that the market does a pretty good job at filling them most of the time. We can see over here, we got it here, we shot up, and then we fill both of these on the way down. So, I mean, we can see it all the way up here too. Went up, massive gaps, comes down. Is what it is. Just keep an eye on that. I think Bitcoin, again, is going to be the one that's going to move the market. Watch for Bitcoin dominance, how it shoots up. STD dominance. Tether dominance is absolutely staying pretty solid around 8.17. It's, it's climbing. I think this one's in a bull market right now. You see that, the stochastic RSI is pretty undervalued right now. Price is pushing up on the monthly. And the fact that we got inflation numbers coming in today and the dollar is absolutely it's climbing back right now. And, Tether dominance is still pretty strong relative to what's going on in the alt market. It shows me that a lot of people still have cash on the side. So I expect this USDT dominance to be climbing with the dollar, with Bitcoin dominance. And then again, if Bitcoin starts shooting up and alts start bleeding, and then Bitcoin drops and alts continue to bleed, this dominance of Bitcoin could definitely climb, could absolutely test, maybe not that, but on the weekly, it's very possible we can go to 51% on Bitcoin dominance, and that would just be absolutely a massacre for alts. And again, Bitcoin from this bounce from 22K, that can absolutely be the reason that gets us to 51%, because alts are just too decimated against Bitcoin trying to regain its claim in the market. So tons of stuff. I know we talk about this stuff all the time, but again, it's good to keep an eye on it. Why the prices are pushing up? Why can't we get above 2,600? Well, it's likely because of this. So just keep an eye out. Be safe out there. We're just waiting for data to come out to move this market. It's not going to be data. It's going to be either news, or it's going to be, someone just like, fuck it, let me pull out of this market, and it ends up being someone with like the US government, or someone that's selling, I don't know, $20 billion worth of shit coins or something. I don't know. It's going to be something crazy like that. But keep an eye on supply. You can watch Whale Watcher on Twitter, and then just keep an eye on the charts. That's all you got to do.
All right. That is going to wrap it up for today. Tomorrow should be a good one. 30 minutes left in the trading day today. I think things will be relatively calm in the morning ahead of the FOMC decision that'll come out at 2 p.m. Eastern. 30 minutes after that, Powell will speak. In the last few meetings, we've seen the number come out, the market move up, and then Powell starts speaking, and the markets come back down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar setup tomorrow. Kevin and I are going to go live once Powell is done talking. I think it's a huge presser tomorrow. That's going to, the Fed is also kind of resetting their expectations for the remainder of the year. So I think tomorrow's presser from Jay Powell is really, really important. So I want to watch that whole thing. I want to hear what he has to say, and then we can dive into it live on the show, try to get a jump start on what we think the rest of the year has in store from the Fed. So that'll be tomorrow. We'll post a link, hit the notification so that you get, find out when we are going to be going live. It's going to be a good one. So thank you everybody for watching today. If you have not yet, hit that button on the bottom to like the show, subscribe, drop a comment, share it out. Randy, I appreciate the quote tweet today. That stuff does not go unnoticed. It really does mean a lot to us. So we'll be back tomorrow. A little bit later than usual, right after Powell gets done speaking. I think he's been talking for a while. So excited about it. It's going to be fun. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for being here.